Hey everyone. In this video, I wanted to really quickly introduce a utility I found that solves a challenge I was trying to solve around. I wanted some custom keystrokes, combinations that would fire off certain actions. And the solution I found was this application called AutoHotkey. And it's its own scripting language. I can create macros and I can define functions and expressions. I can use variables. But what I can do with this is I can trigger those things through certain custom keystrokes I define. And on its main information page, you can see right here the modifiers I can use for hotkeys. So for example, you can see, well, hey, the little hash symbol, that's the Windows key. Exclamation mark is the Alt key. Up arrow is Control, and there's ones for Shift, etc. So any combination of keys I can think of, I can create a macro to trigger when I do that combination, no matter which application I'm in. So the way this is going to work, you install this application on your machine. And once the application's installed, what it does is it's now associated with these AHK files. So these files we're going to create, we have this AHK format. So you can see here, I'm going to edit a file called basicshortcuts.ahk. So I can now just double click on this file and it would then automatically launch an instance of the AutoHotkeys, and you would see it in your system tray. So I took a screenshot. So in your system tray, you'll see this hotkey icon right here. And then from that icon, if you right clicked, you then have various commands you could do to, well, I could reload if I've modified the script. I could pause it, I could exit. And you'll see one of these icons for each script you have running for AutoHotkeys. Now, obviously, one of the things you may want to do is, well, I just want to run it as soon as I log onto the machine. I want it running in the background. And the way you can achieve that is just create a shortcut in your startup folder. And so if you obviously go to shell:startup, so if I just do win-r for run, so I'm over here, and if I just type in shell:startup, as you can see right there, so just zoom in, you can see that, that will just be for my specific user. Well, once you're in that shell startup folder, you can see I've actually got a shortcut to my basic shortcuts.ahk file. So I would just right click, hey, I want to do a new shortcut, and then I would type in the location of my AHK file. So now every time I log on, it's going to automatically launch this particular file. I might have others for other things, but hey, I want this one to always be running. Now, there is actually an extension for VS Code that helps clean some things up. That extension, there's a number of different extensions. The one I'm using, it automatically sets up a few things at the start of the script. So this single instance false means, hey, if I launch the same script multiple times, it would replace the previous instance. There's only ever one instance of it running. I replace, when I do the send command, when I make the send command synonymous with send input, which is just better performance, better reliability, and it sets a working directory. So then what are some of the things I can actually do? Well, we could look at these first two. So I've got this upper arrow exclamation mark G and upper arrow exclamation mark B. So that's Control Alt G, Control Alt B. So it's going to send the run command, and what it's doing for Control Alt G, it's opening Google with search $Q equals, and then the contents of my clipboard. And the Control Alt B does the same thing, but for Bing. So the net result of this would be whatever is in my clipboard, so I could select any text. So if I go and select, I don't know, we do this PowerPoint. So if I select PowerPoint and do Control C, so it's now in my clipboard. If I now do Control Alt G, then it automatically loads Google searching for PowerPoint. If I now press Control Alt B, it does exactly the same thing for Bing. So it's made it super simple for me to now just go and search for whatever I want. I just copy it into my clipboard, then Control Alt G or Control Alt B for whatever I want to do. So straight away you see some of the power now I have created any hotkey. It didn't have to have focus. It's just running in the background, and now it executes. This next one is for PowerPoint. And one of the challenges I had with PowerPoint is sometimes PowerPoint doesn't have the focus, but I want to advance the slide. Well, the way most clickers work is it's a page up, page down. Page down goes to the next slide. Well, if PowerPoint doesn't have the focus, it doesn't work. So what I added was the same Ctrl, Alt, Q, and W. But what these do is it actually goes and creates a variable. So you do colon equals, like a lot of programming languages, to actually assign something. So I'm grabbing the COM object of the PowerPoint application and then using its native, hey, view previous and view next, instead of page up, page down. So even if PowerPoint doesn't have the focus, it will still advance or go back on the slides with those key presses. I did have a different version of this where it's a bit more efficient and it just creates the variable for that COM object up front, so it doesn't have to create it every time I push the key. The problem with that is I couldn't launch this until PowerPoint was running, because it would try and create this variable. If PowerPoint isn't running, it will fail. So in order to have this just always there and available, I have to create the connection to the PowerPoint COM object whenever I press the key press. It doesn't really have an effect on the performance. It seems just fine. But hey, if I wanted to launch it after PowerPoint, I don't have to create that variable. I can create one instance that's a link to PowerPoint, and then I can use it throughout the script, as you can see here. But again, if I launch this when PowerPoint's not running, it will error trying to create this PowerPoint variable. So that's why I did that. Then I did some other things. So working with certain customers, I treat this as an example. So AT&T is uppercase AT &T. Well, what this does is just a substitution. So if I type ATT, it will automatically convert it to uppercase AT&T. So you can see this. I've got this running. Remember, this is running all the time in my environment. If I type AT&T and then just space, it automatically converts it to AT&T. Now, this requires you to do a space or new line before it takes effect. I had another version up here initially, which I've left in the code, where I do a wildcard question mark. And what that means is you don't have to terminate. If I just type ATT and I'm still typing, it would replace it. So the question mark triggers it within a word. Wildcard means I don't have to have an ending character. However, the first time I tried to type the word attention, it failed and replaced ATT with that. So realize you can do these things, but that isn't actually what I wanted it to do. Another example is a lot of times people pass credentials and I congratulate them on YouTube. Well, I always type great job or congrats and then my little shaka symbol. Well, now I can just type GJ, good job, great job, and it would replace it with, well, I'm sending great job, and then the Unicode character 1F919, which is that shaka call me symbol. I need to actually send it as the Unicode character, not just try and paste it in, because it's going to behave differently from this. But notice for the first time, this is not all on one line. All of my other commands you saw up here was one line. One line. Now you notice on these ones, it wasn't one line, so I have to use return. Return is implicit if it's a single line, but if it's not single line, then hey, on this one, I have to then do return. I did that just to demonstrate that return. So this is just some examples. And again, you could see this if I do GJ space, you can see it just replaces it that easily. So this is super powerful. It's really easy to use. There's a ton of great examples. The PowerPoint ones I just found online, they were in some comments of various boards around different things. So most things you can think you want to do, there's examples out there, but it's super powerful. And I just wanted to show this as, for me, this solves a lot of problems. And realize once you have a hotkey to call this, well, if I have things like a Stream Deck, I can map Stream Deck buttons to keyboard sequences, which would then trigger this. On my clicker, I could reassign, hey, hold down the next button to call the actually my little Control Alt W to always move forwards, even if it doesn't have focus. So I can then use this from other things. But it's really easy to use. It seems really lightweight. And hey, maybe it'll be useful to you as well. That was it. Until the next video, take care.